How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Hot Takes with Holmes here on Radio Free Radford. My name is Blake Holmes, and I'm here with my co-host, as always, Isaiah Addair. Stick around with us. Today, we're going to be talking about the recent action around the end of the NBA season, postseason, Major League Baseball, and the upcoming NFL Draft. Starting off with postseason, NBA playoffs, one of the most fun times of the year for an NBA fan. We've had some very exciting first-round basketball so far. It's not over. First round is not over. I believe it's either 3 or 4 teams have already clinched their spot into the next round. So, without further ado, let's just talk about each series and talk about what the look of the playoffs is right now. So, starting in the Eastern Conference, the number 1 seed Toronto Raptors taking on the number 8 seed Washington Wizards. That series is actually tied, going back to Toronto for Game 5 tomorrow night. The Wizards have actually put up a fight. They won both of the home games that they had in this series. Toronto looking strong as always at home, but actually faltering a little bit on the road. So Isaiah, 2-2, going back to Toronto. Who gets this win and who gets to the second round? And also, who really shows out and makes a difference in this series?
I say Toronto, and I think Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan will perform better than they have in the past couple games tonight. I honestly see Toronto winning this one. And the next game, is that going to be back in Washington?
Correct.
And I could see them closing it out, the next 2 games, closing out the series. It could go to 7, but I see it ending soon just because Rosen and Lowry are not going to stay silent. And don't get me wrong, Wall is great. Wall and Bill and Otto Porter. It's great that they have everything going. They're getting things going with Wall back in the mix and everything the past few weeks. But you can't count out DeRozan and Lowry for too long. Anyway, they say they have a history of choking, especially Lowry. But I think this is the year they at least make it to the second round.
They have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals before, and I do, Lowry has that reputation of struggling in the playoffs, for almost his entire career, it seems like. I do have to agree with you, though. I think Toronto gets the next 2 wins, and I don't think it's necessarily just because of DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. I think it's because of the emergence of their rookie, OG Anunoby. He's been playing very well as of late. Dropped, I believe, it was like 28 in a game the other day. And he's saving his best basketball, it seems like, for the postseason. So, OG Anunoby, a defensive superstar, it seems like that he could be in this league. Drafted still what I think was criminally low at 23 in last year's draft. OG could be the guy that could almost be the one that steps up and closes out this series when it goes back to Toronto for Game 7 or even in Washington Game 6. I think it does go 6. I don't think it goes 7, but wouldn't be shocked to see it go either way. Looking at Cleveland and Indiana, also a series tied 2-2. A little bit more of a, you could actually say it's a little bit more of a shock or also less of a shock because, yeah, it's less of a shock. It's a 4v5 matchup, but it's LeBron. LeBron is tied 2-2 in a first round playoff series. That doesn't happen much in his career. In fact, I think this was the first year in a long time since he's lost a first round game, and so Cleveland struggling a little bit at first, but they've found their footing and they've split the game so far. So Cleveland got 1 in Indiana and Indiana got 1 in Cleveland. So this could be an important, pivotal Game 5 right now. It's going back to Cleveland. So Isaiah, we all know Victor Oladipo plays big for the Pacers, and we all know LeBron plays well for the Cavs. What ultimately gets the job done for the team that you think will win this series?
I don't know if I want to say Lance Stevenson or... Actually, I'm just going to say Lance Stevenson. Both teams are really good. I think the Pacers were extremely underrated going into playoffs just because I know the Cavs team. I think the Cavs team as a whole was overrated. But playoff LeBron. And he has been showing up, and they still were able to split the series. I mean, it's been going back and forth. Indiana, Cleveland. They've pretty much been going back and forth. So I honestly think that I think Cleveland will take it in 7. But I want Indiana to take it in 7. I really want Indiana to because I love Oladipo. And just this Cleveland team's not going to make it to the finals, I don't think. So why not? Why keep on going? Give Indiana a shot.
I agree with you. I kind of do want to see Indiana go past the first round. I don't know if it's true. I think Cleveland still has a shot, absolutely, to make it to the finals if they can figure it out after this first round. I'm not changing my answer from last week. My player to watch out for in this series is still Miles Turner. You know, he's a big man, and he still has He still has Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson either is a great big man or he's horrendous, and there doesn't seem to be an in between. Miles Turner gives you a form of consistency that really Cleveland doesn't really have. You look at that roster, who has really been consistently there? LeBron. That's about it. So at the end of the day, you almost have to assume that Indiana has to depend on that big guy. If Oladipo's shot's not falling, if they can't get the three-pointer falling, or they can't, bang in the post a little bit. Make your shots be good shots. And it's not something that, and if you can get Miles Turner working in the offense very well, then you find a way to run the offense more fluently. And that's really not, and then, he's still a great rim protector. He's a great defensive player. That's why my answer's not changing. The main reason I don't want to see Cleveland win this series is because I'm tired of seeing Golden State and Cleveland in the finals. So, I like LeBron. I have no reason to not like LeBron. At the end of the day, it's the same thing as why would I hate on greatness? Like, what reason does anybody truly have to hate LeBron unless you are, say, a Warriors fan? I just don't agree with hating greatness. I also think that Victor Oladipo deserves the spotlight, and I also think this brings back to the ultimate question. If Oladipo's done what he did this year, then how can you look at someone and say that Russell Westbrook had no help in the team last year? Oladipo was there. This was all here. It's just, and I'm not saying that Russell, and I've said this before, I'll say it plenty of times again, I'm not saying Russell is a bad player. I'm saying far from it. Russell Westbrook is a fantastic player and one of the best players in the NBA. But at the end of the day, the way Russell Westbrook plays basketball ultimately limits some other people's productions. That may not have happened with Paul George this year, but you know who it did happen with this year? Carmelo Anthony. You look at that, and to know that last year Russell Westbrook had Victor Oladipo, the same guy who's doing what he's done this year, Steven Adams and Enes Kanter, and just say he had no help whatsoever, I think this sheds light on that. You look at who is finally putting LeBron in a situation where he could lose in the first round, Victor Oladipo. So I think this ultimately sheds light on that, and I'm glad it sheds light on that. I've been arguing for a long time that he didn't have as bad of a team as people want to make it out to be, but I digress. So I really think that as much as I want it to happen, I think Cleveland still gets a win. They still have home court advantage here. They'll have, at the worst case scenario, if it goes 7 games, they have home court on 2 of those games. So I still give me the Cavs, even though I would want the Pacers to win the series. The next series, the Philadelphia 76ers. We don't need to talk about the next game. Philadelphia advanced, beating Miami in Philly for Game 5. Meek Mill coming out of jail to come ring the Liberty Bell for that game. So a lot of momentum, a lot of support coming out from Philadelphia. And Philly got the job done. Win the series 4-1, advance to the next round. Joel Embiid still looking a little rusty from his injury, but Ben Simmons, great as ever. Dwayne Wade, it's one of those things. Dwayne Wade, we should not forget what Dwayne Wade has done for Miami this year. Coming back halfway through the season, late in the season, and leading them on this playoff run, or leading them to the playoffs, I should say. And losing to, I still think that Philadelphia is very streaky. They're very inconsistent. But when they're on, they're on. And at times this series, they were on. So, props to Miami, but Philadelphia gets the win here. Philadelphia advances to the next round. Who played the biggest part, and who do you think will play the biggest part for the rest of their playoff run?
I don't know. Of course, Simmons has been crazy like always. I know last week I said my player to watch was Redick if he could get him knocking out from the three-point line, and he did. He started getting things going from the three-point line, but I just don't think you can take away what Simmons has done. I think he might have had 1 or 2 two triple-doubles during that series, but I mean the games that he didn't, he was awful close. And in one game he was like 18, 8, 9 or something like that. Like he's been close every game, and he's just been a well-rounded player. So I think Ben Simmons has been the biggest impact player.
I really do have to agree with you. Ben Simmons is the biggest quintessential part of that team, I think. In the grand scheme of things, though, when you got to look back, who is the emotional leader? Who is the guy that they've been needing back ever since his injury? It's Joel Embiid. He does so many things on the basketball court that not many other players could do. He stretches the floor. He plays his defense. He's one of the top big men in the game already. He's only, 22 years old, I believe. So to know that you're missing a player of that caliber, and when I say that, you're missing the normal version of him. You've got him back, but he's not quite what he was at that certain point. So, I mean, at the end of the day, do you want, you want Ben Simmons. You want your team as healthy as possible. I understand that completely. Wouldn't you rather have the starting all-star, though? The all-star starter, Joel Embiid, in the end of the day? And so, I mean, that's a question they don't have to ask anymore. They're going to have both, hopefully, going into the next round against either the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks. Boston got a win last night. 3-2 is the series right now. Milwaukee fighting back. They were down 2-0 in this series. But Boston trying to find a way to pull away. Series goes to Milwaukee next. Who takes home the win in this series?
It's another one of those things where the team I want to pull it off, I don't think will. 2 games left at the most. And Boston only needs to win one more. And one of them is going to be in Boston. So I think it'll go to 7. But I think Boston takes it. As much as I want Giannis to move to the next round, oh, goodness, as much as I want Giannis to move to the next round, I honestly think Boston will take it. Because, I mean, you got Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and the team it's a well-rounded defensive team. Like, what they got right now on the floor is a well-rounded defensive team. And I think as long as you can shut Middleton and Giannis down, which Giannis is obviously the biggest factor there, I mean, it's not that hard to play against. It's not hard to play against Milwaukee.
I do think Boston takes home the win in this series. I don't know if they get past Philadelphia, but I do think that they make it past the first round. My player to watch out for Boston, honestly, comes down to Marcus Smart. He came back. He played pretty well last night. He's going to have it. We know what Marcus Smart is. He's a lockdown guy, but he can still put the ball in the bucket every once in a while. It seems like he plays a very good role for the Celtics. He knows what he's there to do. He knows what he's capable of. He doesn't try to push the boundaries too much. My player to watch out for Milwaukee is Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton's been insane this series right now. The 3-point shot has been falling and it's been deadly. He's still athletic. He could play defense. And really, everyone wants to talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Everyone wants to talk about Eric Bledsoe from Milwaukee. At the end of the day, who's doing a lot of the scoring? And it's going to be Middleton. It's Middleton and Giannis that are splitting it seriously. I would say the 2 players to look out for with Milwaukee are Middleton or possibly even a John Henson, just because you want to get John Henson down low and him banging in the post, it seems like. You want that. You want to be able to stretch the floor. You want to be able to find the good looks. And if you can have a 3-dimensional offense where everything is working, or you're at least, if you focus on one thing, let the other things come to you. Let the offense come to you. You don't need to force anything. And if you can get all of your offense running in some sort of way, that's your best chance to beat this Boston team. That's it for the Eastern Conference. Now out west. In the number 1 v8 matchup, the Houston Rockets taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Surprisingly to some of us, that series isn't over yet. The Rockets lead 3-1. We'll be going back to Houston, where Houston has dominated all year long. Really, what's a place they haven't dominated, it seems like. So, Minnesota, shocked or not, they got a game in this series.
Oh, well. Let me just say, D Rose is looking good. Cat's still not getting many looks. Butler's not getting a lot of looks. I think Rose is actually getting a lot more shots up and being used a lot more than they should be, getting more touches in the offense. But I'll say it's nice to see him back. It's nice to see that his impact was able to at least get them one win on the number 1 seed. I mean, obviously he wasn't the only key player, but I mean he was a part of it, a big part of it. But it's not going to last past tonight. As much as I like to see it happen, it's not going to last past Game 5. That's really all I got to say. You got James Harden, CP3, Capella. Like, those guys have been crazy.
The Houston Rockets this year have been the best team in basketball. No one's going to argue that. Their record shows it. And the way they've played, the teams they've beaten, they're the best team in basketball. They're going to further make that statement known tonight. Coming back home from Minnesota, up 3-1 in this series, with a team that doesn't seem to know how to use its stars properly. James Harden's going to have a lot of fun. Chris Paul's going to have a lot of fun. Heck, Gerald Green might have a lot of fun in this game. I'm honestly surprised that Houston lost a game in this first round. Not that I think that the Timberwolves are a bad team by any means, just that the Rockets are that good. The Rockets are insanely good this year. They're probably right now my favorites to come out of the Western Conference until Golden State can get Curry back and Curry can prove to be what he was. Houston's my favorite. And I think the player to look out for the rest of this series, which I think, again, it'll only last about, 8 hours, 8 more hours, is obviously James Harden, is Chris Paul. And look out for Trevor Ariza as well. What's one of the, But if Minnesota wants to have a chance, get your stars active. Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns. You know what they're good at? Shooting the basketball. Let them do that a lot. Where did most of your success coming from? Letting Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns shooting the basketball. Why did you stop when you got to the postseason? If Minnesota can't do that, and even then it still may not be enough, Houston's going to run away with this very easy. Moving on to the next series, the 4v5 matchup, another one that's at 3-1. And to me, almost a surprising 3-1 to me. Utah and Oklahoma City. The Jazz coming out and really making a case. Donovan Mitchell saying, hey, here I am. This is what I am. Being a monster in the playoffs right now. Dropped 33 in Game 4. So, are you surprised by Donovan Mitchell's impact in this playoff series? And do you think that are you surprised that Utah's up 3-1?
I'm not surprised of his impact. Not completely surprised, actually. I kind of am surprised that it's 3-1. I honestly figured it would go to 7 games. And right now, it doesn't look like it'll get past 6, if it even gets to 6. Because they're back in Utah. No. Oh, they're not back in Utah?
They will be going back to Oklahoma City.
They will, okay.
Oklahoma City's the 4, Utah's the 5.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So, it might go to 6. But like you said, Melo has not the Russell Westbrook effect. Melo's not been getting the shots. PG has, Russ has, but even Russ hasn't even been scoring that well in playoffs so far. In the 4 games he's played, he's not been putting up numbers. He's not been putting up nothing even close to what he did regular season. So I think they can take it from him in Oklahoma City. So I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised at how good Utah's playing. I'm surprised at how poor Oklahoma City's playing.
To say I am surprised by Donovan Mitchell's playoff performance, it's not. I'm gonna word this way. I'm not surprised he's playing well. I'm surprised he's playing this well. It's one thing for anybody to come into a postseason and drop 33, drop 28 in your playoff debut. It's one thing for anybody, but to do this on a team that a lot of people didn't expect to make the playoffs this year, on a team that, and to be the leading scorer, to drop 30 a game, it seems like, almost 30 a game with this team, and go up on a team that I thought would have been a dark horse and potentially get out of the Western Conference 3-1. Granted, we know the age-old thing. It's not over. 3-1 lead. It's definitely plausible to come back from. But I'm honestly surprised. I'm not surprised that Donovan Mitchell's playing well. I'm surprised he's playing this well. It's one thing for anybody to play this well, let alone a rookie making his playoff debut. So, it begs the question: what happens to Oklahoma City if they lose this series? It's yet to be seen. Here's one of the least exciting but most surprising series in the postseason. The New Orleans Pelicans swept the Portland Trail Blazers 4-0, obviously. A 6 sweeping a 3. That does not happen very often. So, really, at the end of the day, is New Orleans a contender or a pretender? Or was it more that New Orleans is a contender now, or that Portland was a pretender in this conference playoffs?
I think that the Monstars came down and transferred Dame's talents to Drew Holiday, and that's exactly what happened. I don't think Portland was a pretender at all. You saw how they played after the All-Star break. They were amazing, and even before they weren't playing that bad before. I think New Orleans has a good shot at making a run at the championship. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, of course, they'll be playing Golden State next round. But it's crazy. I think they have a shot.
I've said this to several friends. I'll have to see it to believe it for them to get past a good bit, because when you're starting small forward is Etwan Moore, I have a hard time believing that you're going to make it far in the playoffs. Second round, I mean, it's a fantastic feat by them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, sweeping a team like the Portland Trail. I don't think the Portland Trail Blazers are a bad team. When you've got a backcourt with Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, when you've got a big man, as much as I don't like him, like Yusuf Nurkic, when you've got a bench like they do, and you've got the 3-point shooting that they do, it's an impressive feat to sweep them. And New Orleans, to me, shouldn't be this good. I don't understand why they're this good, but they are. And as much as I'd like for them, or as much as I think it'd be cool to see a story like that, they won't make it past the next round, because you go to the next series, it's Golden State taking out San Antonio 4-1. They will play New Orleans in the next round, and Golden State gets Curry back. Things don't look that good unless Drew Holiday steps up and playoff Rondo are the greatest duo in the history of basketball. I don't think that New Orleans escapes this next series with a win. Speaking of Golden State and San Antonio, once again 4-1. Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson playing very well in the series. Greg Popovich playing through coaching through adversity. It's a sad situation. His wife, I believe it was Ellen Popovich, passed away. It's always a tough. That's twice. That's 2 years in a row that we've had a tragedy happen right in the middle of the NBA playoffs. So. Condolences out to him, and Golden State gets the win of the series. So, and this is this is the only series that we can see in the future. Who plays big for this Golden State team or this New Orleans team in getting the win of this series?
For me, they said there is a chance Steph will miss a couple games still. So let's just say even if Steph does not play any throughout this series, for me the game changer will be Draymond Green. Because just matchup-wise, Klay matched up against Drew Holiday. I think Klay could limit him. Either Draymond Green or KD will be matched up against AD, and I'm not sure who. I think Draymond might, but I'm not sure. And whoever matches up against AD will probably match up against him. They'll probably be back and forth matchup, unless they move AD over to Kevin Durant. Yeah. But I think it'll be Dre matching up against AD. Plus whoever is not, because you still have Anthony Davis, whoever he matches up against, that's going to leave either Draymond Green or KD or maybe Andre Iguodala. Someone's still going to be open. Someone's not going to have a dominant defender on him. And then for New Orleans side, it's going to be Rajon Rondo. Is he going to have as big as impact if the guys that he normally passes it to like crazy, if they're suffocated and they're not open to get those open passes and get those open shots? Is he going to be as effective if he can't really pass the ball as much as he wants? I guess we'll see. But for me, it's Draymond Green and Rajon, just to see how they work in the system if their other options are shut down.
For Golden State's side, to me, it's got to be Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is so much more of an underrated defender than a lot of people want to give him credit. You think of the two-way players in this league. To me, Klay Thompson ranks almost at the top of them. Great perimeter defender. You look out and who's always on the big shot guy, it seems like, other than with the exception of the 2016 NBA Finals, Who is always that guy who makes that play at the perimeter? It's Klay Thompson. Kyrie shot, Stephen Curry was guarding him. That was still fantastic defense on Steph's part, by the way. But when you look at the end of the day, at the end of the game, I should say, who is the guy you want to put on their guard? Drew Holiday isn't playing very well. Who's going to be the one that's stopping him? It's going to be Klay Thompson. And Klay Thompson's his shot's been falling. He's been playing fantastic in the postseason so far, and we'll have to see if he can carry that into the second round. I agree with you, New Orleans side, with Rajon Rondo. The reason why, and I think you nailed it perfectly. There's one thing I got to add, though. You were saying how you don't know how he's going to be able to handle it if he can't pass to his teammates. If there's anyone in the league that can pass against this Golden State team or can find ways to do it, it's going to be Rajon Rondo. It's just, Rajon Rondo is such a fantastic ball mover. He has been his entire career in Boston, in Sacramento, and wherever he has been. He's just been a fantastic ball mover. He's been a fantastic passer. And if there is a player that can find a way to get this offense moving and run the ball, run the offense fluently, it's going to be Rajon Rondo. And that'll be interesting to see. I think New Orleans gets a game at least in this series. I don't think it's a sweep.
I think it might go to 6.
It's entirely possible as well. I can't vote against Golden State right now, I think, especially when you're getting your fire back with Curry. Even if he does miss a couple of games, you're getting your fire back. Give me Golden State in this series. So, as I mentioned, you gotta wonder what happens to Oklahoma City. You gotta mention, like, you think about it, they're down 3-1 on a team that potentially had championship aspirations coming in. What happens to the Thunder at the end of this if they lose this series? Does Paul George stay in Oklahoma City? Does Melo leave? We obviously know Russell will be in Oklahoma City. He signed a huge contract extension. The balance in this team hangs, and you have no idea. We have no idea what's going to happen. So, run me through what you think. If anybody will stay, if anybody goes, what do you think will happen to this Oklahoma City Thunder team?
If anybody stays, I think it's going to be Paul George, just because he's been able to put up 30-point games, 35-point games. He's been able to put up huge games playing alongside Russ. Do I think he stays? No. But I think he has a higher chance of staying than Melo. I think Melo will be on the outs. He's not been playing well. They're not going to want to continue to pay him the big bucks to not do anything. And he's not going to want to, continue to be the third option, sometimes even the fourth option. He's not going to want that. And then PG, he's been connected to LA. He's been connected to multiple teams. And I think he'll leave. I think he'll leave, not necessarily because he wants to be on a Russell Westbrookless team, but maybe a team that he can be the first option on, or at least be a second option with getting more looks than Russ, who's going to pass it off for the assist or score. There's really no in between. So I think both of them leave, and Russ will be in worse shape than he was last year.
Call me a little bit biased, but I saw an article earlier this week, and I really got thinking about this. I think Paul George honestly stays in Oklahoma City. He's been playing very well for them. It would be, he still gets looks every once in a while, especially when he can be the dominant. Westbrook isn't always the dominant ball handler, and when Paul George gets his hands on the ball, he knows what to do with it. Obviously, we've seen him score. We've seen him carry this Oklahoma City teams at times this season. Do not be shocked if Carmelo Anthony leaves and tries to make a homecoming. You look. What is the main the Denver Nuggets, they missed the playoffs barely this year. What is the main thing they need? They need a 3. They need that small forward. What is Carmelo Anthony? A 3. You look at it. This is a chance to better his career, finally get him the homecoming where he left Denver back in, I believe it was 2011. He left in a lot of bad blood, just made a lot of Nuggets fans angry. So it's a way he can, if he can go and he can take the Nuggets to the promised land, or at least, to the playoffs, that makes his image so much better in the minds of a lot of fans. That may be worth it to him to go and make that round trip, take the LeBron James route, and get back to your hometown and maybe rejuvenate your career. I think that's an entirely viable and possible option if both sides are willing. I think that's why, and several other teams are the reason why I think Melo is gone. I don't think it's necessarily that he's frustrated that he's not getting the looks. I think he's just frustrated with himself. He's not playing like the same Melo he was in New York, and it's kind of hard to do that when you're playing with the talent level you have now. You're just not going to get the same opportunities to be the same person you were when on that struggling Knicks team. But I think that Paul George does stay in Oklahoma City, and I think that and I think Oklahoma City will be fine to possibly make the playoffs again. If you can get a if you can continue to develop a Terrence Ferguson, if you can keep Steven Adams down low, and I think they could be fine to make the playoffs again, but I think Melo is gone from that team. So the games Tuesday night, very, very interesting and fun games to watch. The Boston Celtics took out the Milwaukee Bucks on their home floor, 92-87. The Philadelphia 76ers clinched a spot in the second round, beating the Heat 104-91 on Philly's home floor. And finally, the Golden State Warriors clinched a spot in the second round with a 99-91 defeat over the San Antonio Spurs in Oakland. Coming up tonight, we're going to have, obviously, the Washington Wizards taking on the Toronto Raptors in Toronto. Again, that series is tied 2-2. That'll be an interesting game to look out for. The Indiana Pacers taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Once again, series tied 2-2, going back to the Q in Cleveland. The Minnesota Timberwolves will travel to Houston to take on the Rockets in a probable elimination game. If I'm being completely honest, I really don't think that Minnesota is going to win this game. Game 5 in Houston. And finally, the Utah Jazz will look to defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder on their home or on Oklahoma City's floor tonight in Oklahoma City. Look out for Donovan Mitchell once again in this game. So at the end of the day, here's another topic that we love to do every single week. It's our hypothetical for the day. So last week we asked the question: if Boogie Cousins does not get hurt for this New Orleans team, are they in the same situation right now? Are they better or are they worse? Well, we're going to come back out to the East a little bit. We're going to flip that a little bit. So take a look at one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. They are up 3-2 on a number 7 seed right now, the Boston Celtics. But you forget, they have both Kyrie Irving out and Gordon Hayward had that horrific ankle injury in the season opener. So you got to think about it. How good could the Celtics have been if both Kyrie and Gordon Hayward stay healthy this year? We said last week that we think that the Pelicans could have potentially been worse than what they are right now. What do you think about the Boston Celtics?
Okay, so with the Celtics, the reason I said the Pelicans would be worse, like I said last week, we don't know if AD would have blown up if Boogie didn't get hurt. We know what the team was capable of with Kyrie. We don't know what they're capable of with Gordon. We know what they were capable of with Kyrie Irving. And it was good enough to be the number 1 seed in the East before he got hurt. So I think I'd say send them to at least the Eastern Conference Finals if they had Kyrie back, because you got Kyrie, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and then if you just throw Gordon in that, even we don't know the impact that he could have, but if you throw him into that, that's I don't know. If you include potential All-Stars, like future All-Stars, that could be a whole lineup of All-Stars, really dominant players at times. Jason Tatum, not a Rookie of the Year candidate, or he's a candidate, but he's not going to be the Rookie of the Year. But an up-and-coming player, 2 really good defensive role-playing guys in Brown and Smart. And then Kyrie, the best handles in the league, top probably 3 point guard in my opinion, when he's fully healthy. I think if you give them Hayward and Kyrie, I say they'd make it to the NBA Finals. But even if it was just Kyrie, I'd say Eastern Conference at the least.
I do have to agree with you. I don't think... See, because here's the thing about it. Gordon Hayward's a very good basketball player. You're never going to hear me talk smack about Gordon Hayward. He's a class act. He's a very good basketball player. And the reason why I agreed with you last week was because Boogie is such a ball-dominant player. He's going to take the shots at all times. He's going to be the one that's needing the ball in his hands the most. I shouldn't say take the shots at all times, but he's going to need the ball in his hands a ton. Gordon Hayward isn't necessarily the same idea as that. You know, once he gets the ball in his hand, he's a good shooter. He's a good player. But the ball was going to be in Kyrie's hands to begin with. When you look at the bigger picture, Kyrie was going to be the main ball mover at the beginning. So to say that you could get better shooting and a better basketball player while not having to drastically change your offense from what it is now, of course they'd be better. I think they'd be the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and it wouldn't be much of a contest right now if you had both Gordon Hayward, Kyrie, and honestly, it makes me excited for what the Celtics are going to be in the future too. So I think it's this one isn't a hard question. Like last week was kind of a hard question. I don't think this one's hard. I think Boston would have been much better than they are right now. I'll tell you this: they wouldn't be only up 3-2 against Milwaukee right now if that was the case. So moving on to Major League Baseball, as I say every week, one of my favorite sports of all time. The division leaders, the Boston Red Sox, are still red hot right now, sitting at an impressive 17-5. However, they did get the first no-hitter of the 2018 MLB season thrown against them by Sean Manaea from the Oakland Athletics. So a little bit of a setback there. Does not matter. Boston's still playing fantastic baseball right now. In the AL Central, Cleveland finally coming alive. It seems like at 12-9. In the AL West, you have a dogfight for the top two spots with the Los Angeles Angels and the Houston Astros. In the National League East, you have the New York Mets, still impressive, 15-6. But look out for the Philadelphia Phillies at 14-8, right behind them. In the NL Central, you have the Milwaukee Brewers at 15-9. And finally, in the NL West, an impressive feat. Surprisingly, the best record in baseball that not as many people are talking about. The Arizona Diamondbacks, 16-6 right now. So interesting. Colorado Rockies are not too far behind them at 13-12, but Arizona making the big splash so far of this. And Red Sox are still hot, but in the National League, look out for those Diamondbacks. Some news came out today. Ronald Acuna, number 2 prospect in MLB's pipeline behind the fantastic Shohei Ohtani, finally got called up by the Atlanta Braves today. He will play tonight against the Cincinnati Reds, make his Major League Baseball debut. He is now the youngest player to appear in a Major League Baseball game this season, trailing his teammate, Ozzie Albies. Now the Braves on their MLB roster, the 2 youngest players in the league, the outfielder Ronald Acuna and the second baseman Ozzie Albies. Finally, and this is what we almost built our show upon at the beginning of this year, the National Football League. First time we've been able to talk about it in a long time. The NFL Draft starts tomorrow at 8. It's finally time. After the Super Bowl, we've drug through so many mock drafts, so many projections. We finally get to see who is going where and who's going to try to make an impact and try to win a Lombardi next season. That's going to be televised on, I believe it's NFL Network and ESPN. I do know that. So it's at 8 o'clock tomorrow. It is only the first round. The second round will be the next day. I believe is it the second and third day 2? I believe it's the second and third of day 2, and then day 3 will be 4 through 7. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. All right, first prediction I want you to put on here right now. First overall pick for the first overall pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select.
I want to thank Jason Albright, analyst for, I think, ESPN for this. Sam Darnold. I don't know how true it is. He leaked it yesterday. He just randomly tweeted, "It's Darnold." Then he deleted it and tweeted, "If you guys saw that, good for you." That's all I can say. But interesting, he tweeted it from Denver. He was in Denver when he tweeted it, but people are assuming he was talking about Cleveland, and I can see it. I could totally see Cleveland picking him. I could see them trading it because they've said they've had interest in everyone, and it's not a smokescreen because no one can pick before them. But I think if they stick with the number 1 pick, I think it'll be Darnold, and I think they'll use the first pick to get their quarterback, and then let the second, third picks be quarterbacks. Then they can get the best player, non-quarterback, available.
I agree with you. I think they're very interested. I think they could trade this number one pick. I don't know if it's a smokes. I do believe it could be a smoke screen about whether they like Darnold or not. I think they like Darnold. Don't get me wrong about that at all. I think they are thrilled with what Darnold can do. But to me, the number one pick in the 28 with the number one pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Josh Rosen, quarterback, UCLA. One of, to me, the most pro-ready quarterbacks we've seen in a long time, I think. Injuries cut his season a little short last year, but Rosen, with a weak UCLA team, was making throws and making plays for that Bruins offense that is unrivaled by almost anybody in college football, and that team barely made a bowl game. So, to me, it's going to be, and I agree with you. I think that Cleveland uses that first round, that number one pick, to get their quarterback in focuses later on. But I think it's going to be Rosen instead of Darnold. I think they take the little bit more of a sure pick compared to what could be at the same time. Because I think if I speak for Cleveland fans anywhere, I think you're tired of what could be and you want stuff now.
True.
With the second pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select.
As much as I want to say Saquon, I'm going to stick with what I said a second ago. The first three picks, I think, will be quarterbacks, just so you can get that position over with. And Eli Manning's backup for the next 2 years, maybe one, but 2 years, I'd say, will be Josh Rosen, quarterback out of UCLA. Just because learn a year, the few flaws he has be worked out under Eli. The character problems he has, I don't think they're problems, but potential concerns. He's in the same boat as OBJ. Not bad guys, some questionable choices and attitude, but he'll work it out under Eli. Eli's a good mentor. Peyton, he'll have access to Peyton Manning as well. I say Josh Rosen.
With the second pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Saquon Barkley, running back from Penn State. I think the Giants love Josh Rosen. In my scenario, Rosen gets picked number one. I don't think they go after a guy like they take the sure bet. You have a guy that you think could potentially be something in Davis Webb right now. You have someone you think could have a shot in the dark. And I always say, drafting for the future is not a bad idea unless you have a clearly better option staring you right in the face. Saquon Barkley is probably the best running back we've seen come out of college football in a long time. And to me, New York is not going to miss that opportunity. And I think they're going to pick the athletic guy that really could. And you know, what's plagued New York for such a long time? The running game. Well, with Saquon Barkley, that may not be a problem anymore. Last pick, I'm going to do it this way. The number 3 pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select.
Whew, this is a hard one. For me, I kind of want to say, I'm going to say Josh Allen. Just because they signed Teddy Bridgewater to a relatively decent deal, like $7 million a year. They got Josh McCown coming back, 2 guys who are really accurate. And then you got Josh Rosen, who I think his play style, he kind of resembles a Josh McCown, kind of mobile, willing to take all the hits in the world. Oh my goodness, I think McCown played for a better college team in Arizona than Allen had in Wyoming. But McCown and Bridgewater are good decision makers, like really good football accuracy on any sort of pass. And I think it's something that could rub off on Allen. And then after this year, Bridgewater's contract's up. McCown will probably retire and be hired on somewhere as a coach, I think. Opens the way for Allen. So I think Josh Allen could be the number 3 pick and play for Todd Bowles and the New York Jets.
With the third pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Baker Mayfield, quarterback, Oklahoma. I don't think that Baker. This is a pick that I'm not necessarily that confident about because I feel like it could be a number of things. In fact, it could be anyone in this entire top 5, I think. So I'm going to pick Baker because I think New York's in the same field as Cleveland in a way. McCown played very well for them last year. They just signed Teddy Bridgewater, and if you're a Jets fan, you're tired of the future. You're tired of being mediocre and saying, well, there's always next year. We're preparing for the future. When's the future going to come? when the best you can do is barely missing the playoffs in recent history, you tend to pick people you think can help you right now. And I think that's the perfect definition of what Baker Mayfield is. Baker Mayfield has some character issues. Don't get me wrong. It's some decisions he's made, some actions he's done are not necessarily something that I'm that high on. But I think when it comes to his play style, I said Josh Rosen is one of the most pro-ready. I say the same thing for Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield is probably the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft. I think with the skill set he has, with the skill set he has, with the decisions he makes on the football field, not so much his antics off, but the decisions he makes on the football player. He's a football player, and that's exactly what you want. He's not afraid to fight for that extra yard. He's not afraid to take a chance here and there, but it's calculated risk taking. He'll be very safe. But he knows to take that shot every once in a while, and it's not a player that's just bombing it down the field left and right or only throws screens. He has a good mix, and I like that about Baker Mayfield, and I think that intrigues New York as well. So, we did the top 3 picks. You did all 3 quarterbacks right there. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of a rapid fire with you right now. No explanation. I'm gonna toss out a quarterback's name, and I want you to tell me where they go. And I'm gonna repeat some, so you can just repeat where you say they go. So obviously, I'll start with Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold, like I said, Cleveland.
Josh Rosen.
New York Jets or Giants. Sorry.
Say Josh Allen.
Jets.
All right. Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, either Denver or Arizona trading up.
Let's see here. Lamar Jackson.
New Orleans Saints.
Not a bad landing spot for them at all, with him learning from Drew Brees and really learning what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. Guy who a lot of people think is going to play receiver. He won't play receiver. He'll be a pretty good quarterback in this league, I think. Mason Rudolph.
Second round, New England Patriots.
That's actually a pretty good option for him as well, because I don't think that a team that I think is very intrigued with them right now is the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they're not going to use a first-round pick on him, I don't think. So that could be an interesting pick for him as well. And finally, the last one, Kyle Lauletta.
Oh, wow. I could see Washington round 3 or trading up to the end of round 2 to back up Alex Smith, because they have Colt McCoy backing him up right now.
I agree with everything you said. Like I said, this draft is so weird and so evenly spread out that I think they could have gone anywhere. To me, I almost want to say Mason Rudolph goes first round, but it'll be late first round. The team I think Kyle Lauletta goes to is the Patriots in the second round. I think that, they took a little-known guy named Jimmy Garoppolo coming out of, what was it? It was Northern Illinois. So, or it wasn't, I don't remember exactly what the college was. That was Jordan Lynch I'm thinking of. But at the end of the day, they're willing to take shots on these lesser-known quarterbacks. I mean, Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't a guy in college that you penciled in as he's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time one day. A lot of people didn't even think he was going to make an NFL roster coming out of college. So New England's not been one to be terrified of taking shots on these lesser-known guys. And I think Lauletta could be the guy for them this year, especially in a second-round pick. And if he's there for the third round, absolutely they take him. Look out for New England to get Lauletta this year. And finally, our dark horse of the NFL draft. So the guy that may not get drafted, or I'll call it this, your Tom Brady and your Antonio Brown of the draft is.
I'm gonna go with the Homer pick just because I know more about him than most picks. As much as guys like Cameron Sutton intrigue me, and DJ Moore and DJ Chark, I like David Long, outside linebacker from West Virginia. Just because his play style and his statistics are actually very similar to Bruce Irvin that plays for Oakland now. Seattle drafted him in the first round. I don't even know where David Long's projected, but I don't think it's in the first 2 rounds. And he was a dominant force on West Virginia's really bad defense last year. So if he goes to a team that just needs, like, if Houston drafts him per se, and they put him on the outside, right beside J.J. Watt, opposite of Jadeveon Clowney, that could be absolutely insane. So I'm going to go David Long, outside backer from West Virginia.
I'm also going to go with the homer pick, but call me either a bandwagon, like a homer, or riding the wave. I want to say John Kelly from the University of Tennessee because he reminds me a lot of another guy who, I don't know, just won the Rookie of the Year award in Alvin Kamara. Criminally underused in his time at Tennessee by Butch Jones and still was able to put up the numbers he did. So, and I think that John Kelly will go maybe at the latest 6th round, maybe even a 4th round pick. But I see so many similarities with him and Alvin Kamara. The only difference maybe is that I know, and here's the thing that Kelly does. Kelly is more of a power back than Kamara was in college. But at the same time, Kelly knows how to make plays with his feet. He knows how to catch the football. There's so many tools there. And again, it's just call me a homer, but I'm jumping on the bandwagon for Tennessee running backs right now because they were all just so criminally underused. You know, you go back and you look at Alvin Kamara's time, you could see why it made a little bit, you could kind of make a little bit of sense of why they didn't use him as much. You know, when you have a college quarterback with the caliber as Josh Dobbs was, when you have a guy at the time that a lot of people thought was very good in Jalen Hurd, it still doesn't make any sense when Kamara is averaging what he was back in college to not let him run the ball more than 15 times a game. But John Kelly, it's nonsensical for him to not carry the ball. Who was the main person in that offense last year? I'll tell you who it was. John Kelly, even when he was being underused. Let me tell you this. In the Florida game last year that they lost by a Hail Mary, they had it 1st and goal on the 1-yard line. What do you think Tennessee did there? Threw it 3 straight times. Actually, threw it 3 straight times and then got stuffed on the run in the 4th down. Run the ball on 1st down. It's the same thing as the Seahawks back in the day. When your best player is your running back at that time, run the freaking ball. It doesn't make any sense not to. And that's just one of the reasons that got Butch Jones fired in the end. But I think Kelly has, and it's the Alvin Kamara story all over again, I think. And I think we're going to see the best of John Kelly when he gets to the NFL. Well, unfortunately, that's going to do it here on Hot Takes with Holmes from Radio Free Radford. As I say, unfortunately, this is the last broadcast of Hot Takes with Holmes on Radio Free Radford this year. Don't worry, though. We will be back again next year to talk sports with y'all. We love to do it here every single week. We've done it for both first semester and second semester. It's been a fantastic year for us here at both, all of us at Radio Free Radford, including us right here, Isaiah Addair, my co-host, and I. We don't know what time it will be next semester. You know, that's always up in the air. It's a matter of figuring out the schedule this summer. But be sure to like our Facebook page. I will update and I will let everybody know when we are back on the air whenever I find out this summer. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube. This last broadcast, I'm going to try to get it uploaded by tonight. So that will be up. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Watch our broadcast. And be sure to, stay subscribed for next year. So, it's been a great year. We're really happy with how the show went this year, and we are so excited to be able to bring it back to you next year at a new time. So, for all of us at Hot Takes with Holmes, my co-host Isaiah Addair, and me, and all of us here at Radio Free Radford, thank you for listening to us for all year this year, and we'll be back next semester here on Radio Free Radford.